To Ashland Fishing. Well, today this is one of my favorite reels of all time. On the surface, it looks like a just a classic Ambassador 4600C or 4500C rather, um, and it's actually a much newer production than that. The original 4500C came out in I want to say 77 or so, but this is a 1994 4500 CS. Now what this is, it's ultracast design, meaning that it has an axle, stationary axle where the spool rotates. But these are this design eventually got very popular in larger sizes, 55, 6500 with surf fishermen. And the reason why that is this palm side tension knob. And these are a little bit different, and when you set them up, you have to center the spool within the frame. And what that entails is you have to watch, kind of eyeball the distance of the rim of the spool and make sure they're roughly equal up there. But what you do is let's say you get one new in the box, you want to fish it, so you back off your gearbox side tension and you slowly turn it until it looks like it's centered within the frame. And then from there, you tighten this down, the palm side tension knob, until there's just a little bit of resistance in it. And then you use this little index tab and you rotate it, and that's what gets you to your zero. Now, this would be called a mechanical brake because you can adjust that to add end tension on there, control your cast. But I'm not going to do a full breakdown of it. I'm actually going to save that for a later date because I do have some 6.8 to 1 gears coming in for this. At some point, I ordered them maybe about a month ago. It's probably going to be a little bit before I actually receive them, but they were OEM to the record number 5600, which was released in 2014, I want to say. But I figured I'd roll the dice on the gear set because all the rest of the parts between the reels are the same, like the pinion yoke and the drive shaft and whatnot, so that tells me that everything is going to fit. But this one, I actually have a lighter weight spool in it. I set this up for pier fishing around where I live. I have about 80 meters of YGK 1.2. It's a diameter of 4-pound mono, and it has a breaking strain of probably about 25 pounds, which is going to be good for this style of reel. And the reason why I chose to do one of these over using a small Ambassador like a 1500 or 2500C is the larger spool diameter is more conducive to casting distance, where the 1500, 2500 is really going to shine in a stream or a pond environment. This is going to be good, much better for pier fishing where I need to reach out there. And I'm not really casting anything big. The bottom end on this is probably going to be around 3 to 4 grams, about 1/8 of an ounce. But that's perfect for what I'm going to do with weightless soft plastics and soft plastic swim baits on jig heads and that sort of thing. We get a pretty impressive white bass run over my neck of the woods, and sometimes the run is so heavy that you can catch 100 fish in a day easy, and there's quite a few master angler ones that are out there. I know I catch multiple master angler size fish per year, which are 16-inch and above, but I just do it for the fun. I don't want to patch or anything from the Michigan DNR. But continuing on, this reel originally had a chrome brass frame. Well, with that on it, it weighed about 11.5 ounces. So what I ended up doing, I tracked down a new old stock black aluminum 4500C frame. So that shaved some considerable weight off of it. Now this one, all total, weighs about 9.5 ounces when I had it on my scale. But I'm going to show you what else makes these pretty special. Let me dig in my parts bin. I'll get a side plate from a newer model so you can see what the difference is. As you can see here, there's just a little pressed in bushing on that, and there's no adjustability there. Whereas on the CS, Let me just remove these side plate screws so I can get you a better view of it. Inside of here, there's a brass bushing. And what some places they call it a speed bullet. You can actually get those that have a bearing in there that can increase spool rotation, but you can actually take these things to the point where they can be uncontrollable. So you have to pick and choose carefully which parts you want to use. I built them for some people and they ended up having to use a lot of brake, a lot of spool tension, just because it got to the point where it was very difficult for them to control. So you want to be mindful of what you're doing, because at some point you're going to be compensating with more thumb or more brake or more spool tension or a combination of the three. So just be careful on that end. I also have a lighter weight dual bearing cogwheel on here that helps increase rotation. And I also have the newer style worm gear with the, you can pull that screw on there and then access the bearing on that side, and this side over here just pops right out. Also have a lighter weight line guide, so I did quite a bit of weight savings on this in order to get it to how I wanted it to be. I'm going to go ahead and put the side plate back on real quick. This particular model was a 1 year only reel for the United States. Now in Japan and Europe they made this 4500 size up until 2015 in various runs and editions, and they came in a variety of colors. You could get them in gold, you could get them in bronze, they made them in sunset orange. I've seen green ones, I've seen black ones, red ones. The only color that I never really saw for this model is midnight blue. They actually even made a hot pink one in 2015 that was a really limited run for the Swedish market. But this is just such a fantastic casting reel, and it's narrow, it palms reasonably well. Even on a straight grip reel seat, it's not going to be too difficult to palm, but even then, these old style bait cast reels that have the high reel foot on them, they're always going to palm better on a pistol grip style rod with a recessed reel seat. Now the hard part about that is there's virtually nobody in the United States that offers anything for that, where especially in Japan, where these reels are still very popular, there's a number of makers. For instance, a popular one over there is Fenwick, which they're also popular here. But Fenwick of Japan is owned by a different parent company than Fenwick USA. Fenwick of Japan is owned by a company named Timco, and they even make a lot of casting and spinning rods with the old Fenglass recipe, and if you wanted anything close to the Fenwick that you grew up with in the 70s, 80s, part of the 90s, you would want to get that from Japan, because it's gonna have more nostalgic value. It's gonna function the way that you remember. But over here, Fenwick, that's owned by Pure Fishing, they're very average brand now. They don't make anything spectacular unless you get into the fly rods. And being that that's out of the scope of this video, I'm not going to really go on about those. But other than that, these are I obtained this one because how I wanted to build it. The CS has always been my favorite from a look and style standpoint. The functionality, I much prefer the push button instead of the thumb bar. The thumb bars, sometimes they can break, and at that point you either, which is very difficult if you only have the tools, but you have to have a frame jig so you can disassemble it, put a new thumb bar on it, or what most people do is they just scrap the frame and get a new one. Well, now that the Sweden factory is closed, those are going to be very difficult to obtain over the years. So if it's something that you really love, you're going to want to purchase some backups just in case. Even if it means getting parts reels cheap, garage sales, estate sales, eBay, what have you, just make sure you stock up on parts, because over the years they're just going to dwindle, and then hopefully we have aftermarket companies that can come through and fill in the hole that Pure Fishing has left us Abu fans in. But everything I have done to this, you can do to 4600C3, 4600C4, any of that size. I mean, you can even get parts for up to the 6000 sizes, but those are going to be more for, you're not going to be able to throw anything really light on them, but they'll still throw lighter baits further just because the rotating assembly is lighter. But there we have it, Abu 4500 CS. Once I get those gear sets in, I'm going to go ahead, do a video on that, pulling the gearbox apart, getting those gears in, and I'll go into a little bit further detail. But thanks for watching.